have been getting better and better.
Yeah, and it's always interesting to see the development that individual players make from the beginning of the tournament to the end of the tournament. Even people who have already been eliminated from the tournament, you can see kind of a significant difference from how they perform at the beginning to how they perform at the end.
Absolutely. Big 20 from the first chest. Uncle giving a helpful tip there. Just in case you weren't aware.
What did he actually tell us?
Oh, he's telling us that the magic cape can go through the barrier.
Oh, a helpful uncle? That means we're in for a long seat, I think.
Well, hopefully for our runner's sake, they don't have to put that tip to use, but we have a bomb opening. Always a fun time.
The bombs are always an interesting weapon item. One, you don't necessarily have to farm anything to get your bombs. At the same time, the difference between those people who have practiced bomb strats and those people who haven't is much, much wider than any of the other open weapon strats. So we'll see who has practiced and who has not yet.
Absolutely, and there's so many different ways of going about it too. So we'll see if our runners try something a little bit fancy, or if they just go for the safe plays on these bombing these enemies.
One thing to note with the bomb strats, it will inevitably be kind of a slower seed. We usually try to see people hit right around 6 minutes to get through all of escape. Man, both of these runners are just nailing it perfectly with these bomb strats. This is going to be pretty quick.
Yeah, that was very nicely done. They both did it in sync so quickly. I didn't get to see how P-Train did it, but Yukisaka throwing the first bomb and then the second bomb shortly afterwards, getting both explosions on the blue guard.
All right, Yukisaka is going to be a little bit careful here. He's been using suicide bomb strats, but man, P-Train is just nailing it right now.
Yeah, the last two rooms there not going quite as smoothly for Yukisaka. P-Train having no issues. Already getting 2 full heart containers though. It's pretty nice to get early on, especially when you're in danger from of killing yourself with these bombs.
Yeah, I mean, you can get some heart refills over here, and he'll be able to get full hearts if he wants to, but wow, 5 hearts already to go through escape. This is a little bit healthy.
And our runners really, look at this sync here. Really close through escape so far.
Absolutely. So, and they're really making pretty quick time, even with bombs. Yukisaka has got to be a little bit careful, has 2 fewer bombs, will need to use at least 1 on the rat. If he misses any from this point on, he may not be able to go ahead and get the bombable wall in the back of escape. So he's got to be real careful with his bomb usage from here on out.
Definitely. The other consideration, of course, being that you need 3 bombs to fully clear out everything in Kakariko. Yukisaka, unless he gets a drop from something here, won't have that, and may be forced to farm or buy some bombs later on.
Yeah, that would be unfortunate. P-Train can get everything and still have the 3 bombs necessary to do Kakariko if he nails everything perfectly. Yukisaka is going to have to hope for some drops here just because of some different inefficiencies that he had with the bombs in one of those rooms, unfortunately.
All right, so after we get through this rope room, a couple more rooms before we get to that key rat, we'll see what strategies they opt to go with. Personally, I'm a fan of the suicide strats on the key rat. Don't like to leave anything to chance.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's about the most reliable way, because that rat can really pull you in some different directions depending on how he spawns and how he's running. It's really the only reliable way, unfortunately. And we'll see what these two are doing. And oh no, Yukisaka does miss the first one, and so does P-Train.
Oh, Yukisaka needs to be really careful here. This is the last bomb. Gets the rat, though. Unfortunately, though, for Yukisaka, that means he is out of bombs and also really out of ways to kill rats unless he uses some pots here in the next room.
Well, even then, in the next room, he's not doing well. So we'll see if anything here. And a shovel. That's interesting for a progression and more bombs. So P-Train is now set to go through Kakariko, purchase bombs at the end so he can route everything very efficiently, and then likely route that shovel dig spot in as he's going to the South Shore. P-Train has a huge advantage right now in terms of his routing and efficiency in the immediate aftermath of Kakariko.
Power gloves there for Yukisaka, which means if he wants to go, as soon as he gets more bombs, if he wants to go grab those 3 items, he'll be able to do it. But yeah, just there's no way around it at this point. There's really no way Yukisaka is going to be leaving those 3 items behind, so that's a little bit of a time loss versus P-Train.
Yeah, worst case scenario, it's, at minimum a time, well, best case scenario is just a little bit of time loss. Worst case scenario, P-Train ends up getting something from the shovel dig game as his first route pass through there, and it just opens up the world to him. So it's really kind of unfortunate that Yukisaka ended up doing that, and he gets a 20 rupee pull from the tree pull. He's going to have plenty of rupees going through here.
Yeah, I was wondering if maybe Yukisaka would try for the tier 1 tree pull in Lost Woods area, but didn't go for it. Instead, just going to grab these 2 items and probably head down to Kakariko as soon as possible.
Yuki's got to be a little bit careful here. He's only got 1.5 heart, and one of those hearts was another full heart container, so he's really kind of gambling at this point in time.
Yeah, I think with the amount of full heart containers they got early, maybe he's feeling like doesn't need that at this point. But it can be kind of hard to turn that down. I think it really depends on how confident you are in your low health strategies.
So with only 20 rupees, and he gets 300 rupees, so he will now be able to go ahead and purchase bombs. He has, all the safeties. He will have to revisit this well, but man, gets a bottle to be able to check Sick Kid, but also gets the bow, so we have a slightly more reliable weapon.
Looked like Eastern Palace was a green pendant. But also, yeah, getting that bottle will help his routing here in Kakariko. And getting that money allows him to buy bombs. And we'll get a look at what's in Blind Set here from P-Train.
So Yukisaka has gotten some things first, but getting things first in Kakariko doesn't necessarily matter. It's who gets out of Kakariko first the most efficiently. And P-Train will absolutely have a more efficient Kakariko route at this point. P-Train does find the hammer. Yukisaka finds the lamp. This is a Stackariko at this point.
Yeah, crazy amount of items. And at this point, now we're just a Moon Pearl away from Dark World access. That can be a little bit daunting if you're getting out of Kakariko, pretty much having Dark World access wrapped up.
So here's the question. We will have complete logical access to clear Eastern Palace, which, while not a crystal, is the vanilla green pendant. Do you go ahead and do it knowing that there's going to be 4 total items, not to mention the 3 in Sahasrara's closet right there? Do you just knock that out right away, hoping?
I would probably do that after South Shore. And if you get through South Shore and you don't find the Moon Pearl or you don't find any more progression there, yeah, I would be highly incentivized to go just fully clear out Eastern Palace. Sometimes the seed will tell you early what you need to do, and in this case, what it appears to be telling our runners is that something's over in Eastern.
Not only is something over in Eastern, but with that early lamp, it could be that something is behind the dark rooms in Eastern. So logically, it is requiring that. Nothing pointing to Aghanim at this point in time, luckily, which sometimes can be a worry if you get that early lamp. But both these runners still have a long way to go before that's even a consideration. We are 2 of our 3 items away from Dark World access. Just need our Moon Pearl now.
Yeah, Moon Pearl being on the pyramid would really be the only thing at this point that would require completing Aghanim.
Well, Moon Pearl or some sort of fetch quest. You know, it's entirely possible that, for example, the powder can be on Pyramid, and you have to save and quit to go back and get the powder from the Magic Bat, to get the pearl from the Magic Bat. So that's also a possibility.
Very true. Another map check there from P-Train. Looks like our 6th crystal is Desert Palace. Didn't catch that the first time on Yukisaka's side, but we're going to look at the library in the race game here from P-Train, and I have to imagine he'll just route in Shovel straight over to South Shore.
It's a possibility. Worth noting, Yukisaka actually did things about as efficiently as he could, knowing that he was a little bit behind. He's not as far behind as I kind of expected him to be after having to route things around. Neither runner taking the gamble dip for the maze game. And the difference here is Yukisaka is going to save and quit. P-Train is going to check over in this shovel game, so we'll see if this makes a difference for P-Train here.
Yeah, I think the difference between their routing was P-Train going up to check Lumberjack Ledge and check those spots, whereas Yukisaka just went beeline straight for Lost Woods and Kakariko. But going to lose a little bit of time here, having to go back in and get the last 3 chests and escape.
P-Train showing us that shovel spot, and it was just a piece of heart, so no advantage to P-Train here, although that shovel could trick Yuki into thinking that something is going to be there, pulling him over in that direction and allowing P-Train to continue on his way.
Absolutely. Kind of the beauty of these races is that it's not a waste of time necessarily as long as your opponent does it as well.
And you combine that with you don't know what your opponent does, and you just kind of have to take some chances sometimes. P-Train does find the Ether Medallion in the dam.
Won't know if that's required for a while yet, but always nice to get at those medallions early and not have to leave them late.
Yeah, at this point, both these runners have 7 hearts already, so it's a very healthy seed for where they're at. Absolutely not going to be picking up any more heart pieces, and those other etc. pieces, such as the medallions that you can't necessarily use, or Cane of Samaria, which isn't necessarily logical right now, but certainly helps out later. Those are the pieces that we're going to start seeing these runners want to have now.
Definitely. We've got P-Train going for hammer kills on these mini Moldorms. This one can be a little bit tricky. Doesn't really have enough bombs to use bomb strats here.
Also doesn't have any arrows, so he can't use bow strats. That's really weird to get a bow so early you don't actually have any arrows, but there's some.
And the boots.
And our first sword. So Mini Moldorm having all the stuff here so far. Yukisaka and P-Train are both absolutely happy to see a consistent weapon that they're used to using with both. P-Train looks like he's going over to here to check Ice Rod Cave. Yukisaka did save and quit, so we'll see where he ends up going at this point in time.
I wonder if he's going to check that shovel spot.
Yeah, getting it after getting the boots will make this a slightly more efficient check, although P-Train was able to kind of route things together very, very efficiently. So Yukisaka is making this about as quick as he possibly can at this point.
Yep. and P-Train saving and quitting after getting a piece of heart in Ice Rod Cave. If I were in P-Train's shoes, I would be thinking long and hard about Eastern.
Oh yeah, I don't know if there's another play that you can realistically make at this point in time. You have everything you can to clear it out. You go ahead and, maybe you check Sahasrah's closet on your way, knowing that you're going to have to make a return trip anyway.
Yeah, I think so. I think the bigger question here is if P-Train finds that Moon Pearl here early, does he finish Eastern Palace or does he skip out?
Oh, great question. Yuki is actually following the Boots logic and checked Bonk Rocks and just find some bombs. And the Titan's mitts are in the back of Sahasrah's closet. That is excellent progression eventually. Not really needed at the moment.
No, that'll be nice to have once our runners are able to get up into East Death Mountain, but for the moment, doesn't do much for us. P-Train, after getting those items, will be heading into Eastern Palace. Really, I mean, it's the most item-dense location left to them at this point.
So Yukisaka ends up going up here and checking the Lumberjack Ledge, but is making a dip. Instead of going over to Eastern, is taking a gamble and going up Death Mountain. Guessing that the logic is pulling him in this direction because he has both the lamp and the power glove. But there's only 2 items he can get up here right at the moment. He can only really get the item from the old man and then in Spectacle Rock Cave. If one of them is the mirror or the hookshot, he'll all of a sudden have complete access to Death Mountain. But if not, this is just a 2-item trip.
Just 5 rupees from the old man, so only 1 more item available to Yukisaka. See if this pays off. P-Train only finding a big 20 in that second chest in Eastern Palace. I believe found the big key in the first one. And
oh, wow! Okay.
I wish I could say I haven't seen that before, but Yukisaka finds the Moon Pearl in Spectacle Rock Cave, and now we'll have Dark World access.
So Yukisaka making a gamble that he will be able to route in kind of the Eastern and pod in the same go. Does have Dark World access. He's going to go immediately to Dark World and just completely skip. The weird thing is at this point in time is that the Titan's bits are over in that direction. He will eventually have to go over to this area, but he might actually have a little bit more of an efficient route here. That was an absolute gamble based on the sheer number of items. 6 total in the Eastern area, 7 if you include the green pendant that you can get, versus 2 on Death Mountain. And man, that's the play.
Yeah, I mean, so sometimes you follow the seed, what the seed is kind of pointing to you to, and it pays off. And other times you find yourself in P-Train's situation where he's going to full clear Eastern Palace and not have that Moon Pearl.
Yeah, the difference here really won't be felt by Yukisaka until he decides to go ahead and dip back over into that Eastern to do Eastern and Pod at the same time. Early route divergence games, I think, are the best, especially when they're 2-2 and facing elimination. I thought we might see some craziness in this match, and we've already seen it from Yukisaka really making a gamble, but it paying off big time.
Yeah, and I think to kind of get the full scope of what this is going to mean for the race going forward, we're going to have to wait until we get that map check in the Dark World. Yukisaka not even bothering to check to see if Thieves Town is a pendant or a crystal. Just going straight in there.
Well, and you can tell from the music, if you listen to it, that really staccato violin that you hear in the background is definitely a sign that this is a crystal dungeon right now. Does everyone know what staccato means? Yeah? Okay, good, okay.
We know. Yeah, I still find that to be an interesting play because what it means is Yukisaka probably was planning on going into Thieves Town regardless of whether it was a crystal or a pendant. And you know, given some of the seeds I've seen so far, that's probably not a bad gamble to make. Thieves Town hides items quite often.
Yeah, absolutely. Regardless if it's a pendant or a crystal, I generally end up full clearing it. There's 4 total items. The dungeon is relatively quick. Blind himself, it doesn't necessarily matter what weapon you have, you can do it. P-Train, turning in the green pendant and just finding a piece of heart. So the only thing he really got was that Titan's Mitt early. He's got 1 dungeon down, although it's a pendant, green pendant, did not necessarily lead to anything. Yukisaka, in terms of pure linearity, is at a bit of an advantage right now. It may be a little bit of time before P-Train ends up going up Death Mountain. He might be waiting for something more logically to be there.
He will get 1 check that Yukisaka was not able to make here, though, with those mitts. We'll get to check King's Tomb, but it's just a big 20. Nice convenient health refill there for Yuki.
And P-Train doing the other bonk box check. Meanwhile, Yuki is halfway through Thieves Town already. Kind of tanking a lot of damage, but man, he's got enough health to do it.
Yep, getting all those hearts early on, definitely helping. And meanwhile, P-Train going to make his play up to Death Mountain. Should be getting his Moon Pearl here very shortly.
Yeah, it's worth noting that P-Train is going to have a little bit easier time getting into the Dark World because of those Titan's Mitts. So it's not all sunshine and rainbows for Yukisaka right at the moment.
Yeah, and I think what could end up being interesting here is what is Pod going to be? Is it going to be a crystal or a pendant? And if it's a pendant, how long does it take Yukisaka to get over to the eastern area and get those mitts?
Absolutely. So Yukisaka not finding anything. He will have to go ahead and beat blind. And there was a question in chat that I love answering because it's going to be a very long answer for a very short question. What did the little red asterisks next to the crystal and the green pendant mean? Well, I'm glad you asked, Sand Night Live. So, it was suggested a while ago that those people with red-green color blindness had difficulty determining which one was the green pendant and which one were the red crystals, the 5 and 6 crystals that could possibly contain, once you beat those 2, you can go ahead and do the Pyramid Fairy locations. So the developers ended up adding the little asterisks next to them so you could see, even with your color blindness issues, and Yukisaka getting the red boomerang there.
Very nice blind fight, by the way.
Absolutely. So you go ahead and be able to pick those up, and you can just see quickly with the asterisk, hey, these are the important crystals or the important pendant, so to speak. Also, in a similar fashion, you see Yukisaka with a row of yellow hearts. There's our map check. We see red pendant Turtle Rock and blue pendant Swamp, and I think the 5 crystal was up in what is it, a Skullwood, so good knowledge there.
Yep, so looks like P-Train going to be heading into Village of Outcasts here from this portal. Meanwhile, Yukisaka, after finishing Thieves Town, going to check this last location here, and we'll probably head south, clearing the Digging Game and Stumpy.
Absolutely. To finish up my final thought, the yellow hearts that Yukisaka has is another accessibility thing that all of the programmers ended up adding. You can change your heart colors at the same time that you change your sprite there, just for accessibility issues primarily. Yellow, blue, green, red, whatever is easiest for you to see from accessibility. So, Legend of Zelda Randomizer, where the community cares about any possible disability, because we want you to play our game.
Absolutely. The more people that can enjoy this, the better off we'll all be. So we got P-Train going straight for Skull Woods here. I'm gonna hope to get some sort of progression. Obviously can't complete the dungeon without that fire rod, but so did see Yukisaka skip out on doing this, so maybe this helps get P-Train back in the game a little bit. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, I mean, he's not really all that far behind, just has made some different checks at this point in time. And we're doing kind of the South Loop check here. Going to be checking Stumpy with nothing. And pretty soon we're going to have a Hype Cave check. So what are we going to have this time? Is it going to be Hype? Is it going to be Dud? Is it going to be Awesome? Is it going to be Love? Is it going to be Jerry Maguire? I don't know what kind of Hype Cave we're going to see.
I'm going to say it's going to be like a 4 out of 10. We'll get something in there, but nothing super exciting.
I'd like to see some fetch quests. I want to see like mushroom and powder and book and just horribleness in here.
How about an ice rod?
Okay, for
Pendant
Turtle Rock. Oh god. And Silvers and Blue Mail. You know what? That's a reasonable Hype Cave. Silvers and Blue Mail absolutely help out. So what? 5 to 10? 5 to 10 hype?
Yeah, no progression, but definitely some really nice finds there. Means we won't have to worry about finding those silver arrows for later, and we'll make some of the bosses that we'll have to beat that much easier. I'm looking at you, Vitreous.
What, you mean we're not going to be doing bomb strats, Vitreous? What?
Unfortunately, not this seed at least. Meanwhile, we have Yukisaka heading over to Pod, but no mirror, so he will not be able to mirror over and get those mitts.
Oh, that's a little bit depressing. If Yuki ends up finding the mirror somewhere in here, I think he'll be much happier off to be able to do that check. If not, it might be a little bit before he comes over and does the check.
Yeah, I think the fortunate thing for Yukisaka in this case, though, is that the mitts block off so much that Yuki will probably run out of options pretty quickly. But yeah, it's gonna be going through pretty much everything, I would think, before making that play over to Eastern. There's not really much to do over there unless you're going to, do the dungeon.
This is true, and it could be on the back of his mind if he ends up like hunting for items. I think the worst thing that can happen right now for Yukisaka is if he finds if he finds the mirror, he'll go ahead and check it. But if he finds the hook shot, I can see him immediately after coming through here, doing his save and quit, and going back up to Death Mountain to do that east side of Death Mountain, pulling him away from this area and doing that check in Satashirala. That would be absolutely horrible for Yukisaka, but absolutely great for P-Train.
All right, so Yukisaka going to be clearing out the front side of Pod. There are always at least 4 small keys in this front half, which obviously kind of leads to the perception that the party is in the back of Pod most of the time. And of course, yep, finding a big 20 and a small key here in these front 2 chests.
Yuki making relatively quick work going through here in Palace of Darkness.
Yeah, Palace of Darkness, kind of one of those dungeons that can be a little bit tricky to route your way through if you're not familiar with the layout.
Tricky is it's tricky. Okay, my Grandmaster Flash is not good.
Please don't let me stop you. But Yukisaka does, in fact, clear everything out there. And you hit that switch. But we'll be heading to the back half where we'll get a much better sense of whether Pod's going to pay out this time. Ooh, P-Train needs to be careful here.
Oh, but a heart and a half, and he's in green mail, and everything in Thieves Town does a ton of damage. I think these crickets even do 2 damage right now. Oh! A clutch heart refill right as he takes the damage. My goodness.
Yeah, funny, both our runners got that heart refill. Yukisaka had a little bit more health at the time, but that was big for P-Train. Doesn't even get the damage because he got hit as it was being refilled. So he maintains full health here.
Yeah, that's absolutely nice. Even with, I mean, we're at 10 hearts. Oh no. Commentator's curse. I called it. Yukisaka found the hook shot in Pod. I'm really concerned that's going to pull him away from checking Sahasrara's closet and that Titan's mitts. Oh no. Oh no. Yukisaka, don't do what I think you're going to do.
If there would ever be a bad time to find the hook shot, that was probably it. And there's not really much that Yukisaka can do about it. Once he finishes off Pod, unless that mirror is in here as well, there's nothing to be done but to save and quit and head up to Death Mountain.
Yeah, and that's a real problem for Yukisaka. He knows he's got to get, well, we know he's got to get those Titan Smiths eventually. The problem is he's going to go up there, route in Dark Death Mountain, not find that, not going to be able to route Dark Death Mountain. That alone is going to be where he will have 2 trips up Death Mountain for that dark area. It's going to put him behind.
So Yukisaka taking the Death Warp there, and we'll be heading to Helmsor King. Yeah, and for on Yukisaka's side, going to Death Mountain is a very lucrative place at this point. Can basically get everything in the light world. But without those myths, won't be able to do any Dark Death Mountain checks. And then, if he finds progression there that sends him off to, somewhere like Mire or something like that, could be even longer before he gets over to Sahasrara's closet.
All right. In the meanwhile, P-Train does end up getting the Thieves Town crystal, so that is his first crystal.
And now P-Train going to be able to do a little bit more than Yukisaka was here, having those mitts. Be able to do blacksmith, grab the blacksmith at the very least. Fortunately, not having the mirror does mean that won't be able to do everything with purple chest, but can also do hammer pegs.
Yeah, he's going to be able to do this kind of routing quite a bit more efficiently. And if something is here, again, big advantage for P-Train. It's interesting that this just simple routing divergence, from an execution perspective, they both seem to be about on par with one another, but just different execution gambles have led to 2 entirely different choices at this point and 2 entirely different positions.
Yeah, I mean, Yukisaka's gamble paid off in that he got the Moon Pearl super early, but, P-Train's thoroughness in making those checks and, going for the more high-density areas first is going to lead to him being able to do more at the same time, efficiently route these locations in with one another.
And the last item on Helma's Thor was just a 5-bomb capacity upgrade. So Yukisaka gets a second crystal, is ahead in the crystal count, but if he's going to do what I suspect expect he's going to do, save and quit and go right up to Death Mountain with that hook shot, he's going to have a bad time.
Yeah, and I can't honestly blame him. You know, he could go over to the pyramid, check that, and catfish. But really beyond that, and this is the play from an item density standpoint.
Oh yeah, I mean, under normal circumstances, and I can't fault his logic at this point in time for going ahead and doing it. The problem is, we know where the Titansmiths are, and we know they're over in that 3-item check in the back of Sahasrara's closet. Yukisaka doesn't know that. He is making a perfectly logical, perfectly reasonable play that could be done so much more efficiently if he just went and checked one location.
Yep. Meanwhile, P-Train on this Frog World Tour is going to go sightsee at the pyramid, I feel.
Oh, and there's the Cane of Samaria, so also entirely possible for you to, if you really want to, possibly dip into Turtle Rock to see if it's fire locked while you're up here.
I'm sure he would, but unfortunately, not having those mitts is going to prevent that.
Well, so, yes. Yeah,
so that is fortunate for Yukisaka. I think it'll be interesting to see what P-Train does when he gets up there for sure.
Oh, absolutely.
So it didn't look like Paradox Cave had much else there for Yukisaka. But we'll get a hair check almost certainly. A hair completion, I should say. Just an empty bottle on a floating island.
So before Yukisaka ends up checking the spiral cave, he is going to come over here and clear out Tower of Hera. He does have a fire source just in case it's fire locked. P-Train doing a catfish check. Unfortunately, we cannot throw the frog in for the catfish to eat. I hear that's a common fishing trick.
I mean, could we program it so you get a better item if you do that? That might be fun.
I'd be okay with that. I think everyone else would not be okay with that. Meanwhile, Yukisaka finding the magic cape and a small key, so it is fire rod locked. In order to complete Tower of Hera, you do have to have at least a fire source, but because we found that lamp early, not necessarily an issue.
Ooh, Yukisaka not quite getting the coffee break there. Gets it on the second try, though.
All right, so Jeremiah is turned in here. We'll see what the Smiths have for us today.
Just a blue boomerang.
What are boomerang makers called? Like, arrow and bow makers are called bowers and fletchers. Like, what are boomerang makers called?
Boomsmiths?
I don't know. Boomer Smiths? Yeah, I have no idea.
All right, so P-Train now, after turning in the blacksmith getting his boomerang, be heading back to the Dark World from the South Shore area, and looks like we'll be going into Pod.
I mean, it's a very logical play given the loadout that you have. You know it's a crystal, you know you can go ahead and clear it out. Most importantly, it's pretty dense in terms of all the items that you can go ahead and get here. It has a lot of treasure chests, a lot of keys you have to kind of siphon through, but you might as well do it while it's in logic now. It's never going to be faster.
Absolutely. Yukisaka, unfortunately, forgetting to hit that switch the second time coming back out of the basement, does have to go back down, flip it. That will allow him to begin his ascent. Yeah, the nice thing for Yukisaka here is having both the boots and the hookshot will make checking the big chest pretty simple.
Oh, absolutely. This will probably be. I mean, there's a lot of people who can do the bomb jumps if you don't have the hookshot and the boots. Having the boots is nice. Having the hookshot is nicer. Having both the hookshot and the boots is the nicest. And I think he picked up his second item, so not even worried about it. It's all moot.
Sure is, and here we go with the Moldorm fight. Looks like Yukisaka's going to opt for hammer strats here. Just need 3 hits with that hammer.
Oh, and he's using kind of the sword to poke it out, but I'm worried he's going to get a poke. Oh, he gets the hammer hit.
Does get it in the end. Was going for those hammer shots while you're facing upwards. Important thing to note when you're using the hammer is that is the hardest way to hit with that item, just because of the way the hitbox is designed. You get less of an area for that hitbox when you're facing upwards.
Yukisaka making an interesting decision. He has not done Spiral Cave yet. This is worth noting. He has not done Spiral Cave. He is opting instead to check Spike Cave right at the moment. This is an interesting gamble between the two locations. I wonder if he's saving Spiral Cave for once he has the Titan Smiths.
Yeah, Titan Smiths and maybe even the mirror would allow him to do Spiral Cave a lot easier. Finds a Master Sword, though.
Well,
that's
pretty
nice.
Actually pretty nice. You do have to have at least the Master Sword to go through, and we haven't had a lot of swords. If that's the only sword upgrade we end up finding for a while, or it will lead to Tempered while P-Train doesn't check that could be a pretty big pickup there.
Oh, look where Yukisaka's heading. Didn't find anything that would really progress him there in Death Mountain, and so the next best option is Eastern.
Yeah, he might be kicking himself a little bit, but he really hasn't wasted a ton of time at this point in time. So this is actually a really good check and puts Yuki right back in this.
Yeah, as I mentioned, it's really only a waste if your opponent doesn't do it, and I think P-Train will be heading straight for Death Mountain immediately afterwards. Of course, the nice thing for P-Train is just kind of the way this has worked out is he's going to have Dark Death Mountain access when he goes up there.
Yeah, just with the loadouts that we have right now, it feels like something like the Mirror was possibly going to be on Dark Death Mountain at this point in time. It could be an absolutely loaded Dark Death Mountain. We don't know, but there's 6 items plus the 7th in that Spiral Cave that we still haven't seen from Yukisaka yet. P-Train is going to be able to do it much more efficiently than Yukisaka, and that is worth noting.
Yeah, and just kind of going through what's available for our runners at this point, I have to feel like our progression is up on Dark Death Mountain somewhere. They still can't, still no flippers, so Ice Palace, Swamp Palace, those are both out. No flute, so they can't get over to Mire. No fire rod, so they can't complete Skull Woods. And still can't even get into Desert Palace. So, really running out of options here.
What do you think is the last thing that they want to find right now? Like, if you were in these runners' positions, like looking over the items that we currently have and are still looking for, what's the last thing you want to see right now?
Boy, that is a good question. I think the last thing that I would want to see, oddly enough, I was going to say Fire Rod, but Fire Rod unlocks a lot as far as, Ice Palace, Desert Palace. The only reason I wouldn't want to see Fire Rod is because that might push you to go do Turtle Rock.
See, I was going to say Fire Rod as well, because it would push you to go do Turtle Rock. Ice Palace technically isn't in logic because we don't have the flippers yet.
That is true.
like right now, if we get Fire Rod, you can do Skull Woods, which might have a progression item there, but we've already found, I think, at least one item there in Skull Woods. So, if you get Fire Rod, that completely opens up and unlocks a possibility to Turtle Rock, which, at least in P-Train's case, Fighter Sword Turtle Rock is a horrible idea.
Yeah, Flippers with Mirror would be pretty bad because that would probably push you to do Swamp. But yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see what pops up. I mean, even supposing they don't find the Fire Rod, they might still, if Turtle Rock is Ether locked, might still opt to go in there. But both our runners doing dungeons in the same location, just in different worlds at this point.
So
and I have to. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. You go ahead.
I have to imagine that once they both finish it, it will be back up to Death Mountain for both of them.
I tend to agree with you. There's not much else that Yukisaka can do. P-Train isn't going to find a whole lot here in Palace of Darkness, although, it is a crystal, so that's something. Nothing else is really going on. It's just not a ton of options at this point, unfortunately. And chat pointing out, we haven't checked Zora at this point in time. I know most people try to wait for the entire Zora area until they have the flippers. It absolutely can be up there, so that's something. Vanilla flippers would be horrible.
Yeah, I think a lot of people will put off doing Lake Hylia and Zora until you found that Moon Pearl. So Moon Pearl being the last time they needed for Dark World access definitely pushed them away from doing that. It'll be interesting to see what they do. Yukisaka going to go turn in that green pendant here.
P-Train's struggling, I think, a little bit here in this Terrapin room, which, don't blame him. That Terrapin room can be horrible unless you have an upgraded sword, like the Tempered Sword even. With Fighter Sword, it's just hard.
Yeah, you need to be able to hit them with the hammers. The Tempered Gold will take them down in one slash, so it's a lot easier. But he gets through it, and we'll be taking on Helmet Sword King here. While Yukisaka heading back up Death Mountain, and we'll be getting the first look at what Turtle Rock Medallion is, and also Hookshot Cave and Super Bunny.
Now he'll be opening it from the Turtle Rock side, which tells me that he might even be considering diving Turtle Rock if it's a possibility. We'll see what it is.
I'm definitely a fan of, well, he's going to check Spiral Cave first, but I'm definitely a fan of doing that from that direction, just because if you do have the medallion for Turtle Rock, you can just open it right then and there. And yeah, you don't even necessarily have to go in right away. You just, nice to have it open for you.
Yuki making liars out of both of us. Ah, gosh.
Yeah, obviously there was no way he was going to be leaving Spiral Cave a second time, so just going ahead doing that right now. And we'll see if he looks like he's going to be taking this portal. Nope, he's doing it here, so.
Yeah, and one of our 5-0 runners with an earlier win this week, M. Kostler, pointing out, he's like, yeah, you don't have the mirror. You kind of have to do Spiral Cave first, because you can't guarantee that you'll be able to go ahead and do it later. So doing it probably as efficiently as he can at the moment. Thank you, M. Kostler.
All right, moment of truth here. What medallion is going to be locking Turtle Rock?
I really hope it's Ether. I sincerely hope it's Ether, so we can possibly see a dive.
It's the ether.
Yes!
And we have some tough choices ahead of us now. I mean, obviously you're going to check Super Bunny and Hookshot Cave first, but if you don't get progression from there, do you deal without the Fire Rod?
You know what? I do a quick check in part. Oh, and Yukisaka's actually diving in first. That's a bold play, Cotton. We'll see if it plays out for him.
Yeah, that's, I mean, hey, Yukisaka's been gambling, not going to stop now. And I can definitely respect that. If you're gonna go into seed and say, I'm gonna be making some gambles here, do it 100%.
Yeah, but man, that's 6 locations that are just outside. And if it's the Fire Rod here, can you imagine getting all the way to the last, like in Laser Bridge? Can't do it anymore. Oh my gosh. Or if like the mirror is out there and you can't do Mimic Cave and progression is there. Like it's bold and I like bold, but there's bold and there's silly, and I think it's a little bit silly.
Well, there's the flute. So Yukisaka can't get any further in the dungeon without the Fire Rod. Gets the flute from the second chest, and now we'll be able to go check those locations anyways.
So all that I said about it being a bad play, ignore me, guys. Just ignore me. It's okay.
I mean, I can't. The thing is, I can't dispute you what you said before. I mean, logically speaking, it is a gamble. It's a more dangerous play, but Yukisaka's gambles have been working out more often than they haven't so far this seed.
Maybe I'm just bitter. Like I've made these pendant turtle rock gambles. There's the tempered sword.
So Tempered Sword in another blue bottle here. And now the 2 item locations left for Yukisaka to check. And it'll be off to Kakariko if nothing that gets him further into Turtle Rock is here. Let's see.
Nope. Okay. So that early Turtle Rock gamble paid off for Yukisaka. I mean, just an impressive gamble. He's getting ready to turn in his flute, and he will be. Where do you go from here? Do you go ahead and? I mean, Misery Mire's the only thing logically that's still open to you, isn't it?
Yeah, I think for sure you head to Misery Mire, see what that medallion is, see if you still need to hunt for it. It's going to check Kingston here. This is, if he's in the area, might as well. But yeah, I think Mire's really the only play.
Worth noting, P-Train still hasn't done what we know. There's 2 swords up on Death Mountain. One is in Spike Cave, one is in Hookshot Cave. So Yukisaka, having done both, does have Tempered Sword. It will be interesting to see what exactly P-Train ends up doing. I suspect he's going to go right over. He's not going to do, or he's already done Light World, I think.
Yeah, he did all his East Light World Death Mountain checks. I imagine as soon as he's finished up here, we'll be heading straight back over. And yeah, skipping out on Spike Cave. Having the ability to go do all the East Dark Death Mountain checks is going to push him away from that, because you almost have to save and quit out of there.
And Yuki looks like he's going to be doing the Jeremiah loop, actually, from here, which isn't necessarily a bad play.
No, we'll get to check Hammer Pegs as well. Or going to check Bumper Cave first, actually. I do not know that we've seen this yet, so... So P-Train trying to get that last hit onto Moldorm, getting body around.
And now he's in that speed state, but P-Train does get another poke. So showing his frustration a little bit with Moldorm's exploding body there.
Yeah, I guess he just got tired of trying to use that hammer on Moldorm. Uses the sword and gets his third crystal.
We see nothing in the hammer picks. I think we've already checked that, though. So Yukisaka is going to save and quit. Probably turn this in. I don't know if he's going to be doing the purple chest, though. This will be really interesting at this point. So P-Train doing the spiral cave instead of the spike cave. So he's going to be one sword down after this whole Dark Death Mountain loop is done, unless he does spike on his way down from Dark Death Mountain.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if he decides to do that. Obviously, we know that the dip into Turtle Rock is required at this point. There's not really much else for him to do, so I have to imagine P-Train's going to be making that trip in. I'm just trying to think of what else he could do. I think Purple Chest is one of the few things he has left in the light world, or in the overworld specifically.
Yuki doing cleanup of some of these other, Sphere 1 locations that he didn't check over here into Ice Rod Cave. Nothing's here, but he is spending a little bit of time doing it. It's a faster check because of the equipment that he has than P-Train had, but if something were here, he might be in trouble. He's going to be a little bit happy to see this.
Oh, P-Train did not take the upper portal, which means he is not going to be able to get into Turtle Rock.
He may be making the gamble that he doesn't have to, yeah.
I consider that gamble officially made. If P-Train wanted to get into Turtle Rock now, he's going to have to save and quit and go back to the light world.
So he's hoping he's going to find some sort of progression here. I mean, the good thing is it is going to direct him over to Spike Cave, I think, at this point in time. The problem is he's going to have to save and quit and reclimb Death Mountain. So that advantage that he had from only making one trip up there, up Death Mountain, is now effectively negated because of the extra save and quit that he's going to have to do. Whoa! The bird just flew right over Yukisaka. Wow.
It's like when you go to high-five somebody and they fake you out. That was not very nice by the bird.
Question in chat, is this progressive swords? Yes. Yes, everything is progressive swords. And Misery Mire is also ether, so double ether. I've seen that kind of a lot. I don't know if that's just a version 29 thing or confirmation bias, but I've seen just a lot of double required, like one medallion required for both entry points.
Yeah, and nothing's stopping Yukisaka from getting this dungeon done right here and now.
Yeah, I mean, he has absolutely full access to it. Also worth pointing out that he's hoping to get the mirror in here because then he can kind of bop right on over to Desert Palace, which would be amazing from routing.
Meanwhile, P-Train, after saving and quitting, went to Sanctuary to do these final overworld checks. Now, we still don't know what Purple Chest is. So there could be some form of progression here, but that would probably be bad for P-Train, considering we know Turtle Rock is required.
Yeah, I mean, it would really pull him in an odd direction if it ends up being the flippers and it's like, well, flippers doesn't unlock anything by itself other than the Zora area, which we've had access to. So Pyramid Fair, man, there's a lot of different things to think about logically at this point. What would pull him away?
Fire Rod, I guess, would probably pull him away to go do Skull Woods. And then, depending on what the final item is there, could be something. Like if it were Fire Rod to Flippers in Skull Woods, that would be pretty bad.
That could be it. Fire Rod would be bad, although it would be good for P-Train because I don't know when Yuki would end up being able to go back to it.
But just a big 20. I think the way we're heading, our Go Mode items at this point, just kind of looking, if it's something like Mirror or Flippers, that's good for our runners because that means you're most likely going to be able to Go Mode Ice Palace. But anything that would get them in there early would be not very much fun.
Yeah, I mean, not only do we not have access to to Ice Palace because of Flippers, we could theoretically fake Flipper over, but Fire Rod or the Bombos Medallion could actually get us to where we can get past the first room. And Yukisaka's got to be very careful. He's at a half heart right now, and tons of things do a lot of damage in Misery Mire, so you got to be very, very careful. He is opting not to check the Vanilla Big Key chest location at this point in time. He's going to check some of these other chest locations, hoping that he doesn't have to go back there.
Oh, God. Well, there's the Fire Rod.
Oh, God. And the last item is either back on Vitreous or on the Vanilla Big Key location, and Yukisaka is going there.
Yep, P-Train. Oh man. So, and I guess I didn't catch this. He did not do Spike Cave. He saved and quit immediately after finding all that stuff in Hookshot Cave. So now he's going to be getting his Tempered Sword, but what is he going to do from here? I was hoping he was going to be going to Turtle Rock when he saved and quit to this location.
Yeah, not what he was looking for. He knows it was in Logic, so I'm sure he's happy to see the Tempered Sword, but not as happy as he could be. So Yukisaka is making a gamble right now. He is going to go ahead and be on his way over to Vitreous. There is one treasure left in Misery Mire. He is banking on it being on Vitreous, and nothing is going to come from that back treasure chest. If the other treasure is in that location, that's not good for Yuki, because Misery Mire is one of those things, it takes a long time to kind of get through the first couple rooms.
Yeah, definitely a gamble, but we'll see if it ends up paying off once again for Yuki. I mean, this has kind of been the seed for him, right? It's just, you can make a gamble here and there, and for the most part, they've worked out. But yeah, having to go back in and do that cutscene room after beating Vitreous, it's a bad feeling.
We see P-Train kind of full committing to maybe that, I'm not going to call it an error, but he's saying if something is in Turtle Rock and I lose from that, I'm going to lose. He's going to check over here. This is going to be our first Zora check in an hour 4, which is a really late Zora check.
And the book is on Vitreous. No mirror, so Yukisaka can't just mirror over and do Desert Palace, but
that's our access. I mean, it's sad. Misery Mire still gave us access to our Desert Palace, and now we have both the 5 and 6 crystals that you can go ahead and complete. The only thing you're really looking for is flippers. So Yukisaka, I know, is capable of fake flippering. Do you just say, forget it, go mode?
Yeah, you really don't need anything else. Flippers is the last item that Yukisaka needs to complete this seed. So, yeah, fake flipper, do Ice Palace. You go mode from here.
P-Train not finding anything actually useful, so now we'll have to go up and dip into Turtle Rock. Yeah, both these runners, I suspect, unless P-Train finds the flippers somewhere, will be fake flippering over here to Ice Palace. But at this point, I don't see why you don't just go mode it and say, yeah, never mind, I don't need the flippers.
No, absolutely. And, you know, Tempered Sword, Silvers, Blue Mail, 13 Hearts. There's really nothing more you can ask for the seed to be able to complete it.
Oh man. Think about it this way. Once we get up to Ganon's Tower, that location of that big key is really going to be horrible. And these runners are going to either have to complete the sides they're already on, and they're not going to save and quit, but they won't be able to just mirror out like they normally do.
Right. Assuming, of course, they don't find the mirror in Ganon's Tower. Yeah, it would definitely make routing Ganon's Tower a lot more interesting. Probably going to have to incorporate some death warps.
Maybe, yeah, absolutely. All right, so Yukisaka going through. He's go moding Ice Palace. He knows it. He's done as far as he's concerned.
Yeah, Yukisaka is on pace for a fantastic time here. Can go mode these final 3 dungeons and then head straight for Ganon's Tower.
I mean, we're looking at, he's at 107 go mode. That's super impressive right now. We're looking at, he could be talking about a 130 seed pretty easily once he completes, although he's not getting this bomb jump location quite right. Nope, too high. No, you got that time.
Yeah, I think I might not be familiar with the routing without that bomb jump. I know that's something I've definitely struggled with. But he does have the cane, so the bomb jump not strictly necessary.
It does save in some time if you can do it all.
And P-Train gets his flute finally. I'm sure not terribly happy to be seeing that in that location.
And Yuki falling down, so P-Train going to refill his hearts. And, oh man, this is, it's really interesting, just the gamble into Turtle Rock, it was the game changer. These two were kind of back and forth. We were wondering when Yuki was going to go get his Titan's Mitts, and he ended up getting them relatively quick, even though he had to double dip up to Death Mountain. He could not Light and Dark World gather at the same time. P-Train, you got the sense that he might have liked to have dipped Turtle Rock earlier, but used the portal at the base of Death Mountain as opposed to the one on top of Turtle Rock, so he couldn't open it up. And that's the difference here.
Yeah, I think it's hard to say whether or not he forgot that he would have had to do that to go into Turtle Rock, or if he just made the decision as soon as he was there, I'm not doing Turtle Rock no matter what. It's hard to say, but clearly that play is the one that has made the biggest difference.
So P-Train, now in the Misery Mire area, sees that he will go ahead and be able to open it. Yukisaka in full go mode. At this point, you got Desert Palace and Skull Woods, the 256 crystals, ironically, and then you're good to go.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy the way it's worked out. How few items were actually necessary to get this seed done?
Absolutely. And you come to it at this point in time and you're wondering, uh, we started out pretty healthy, but now we're going in only 13 hearts for Yukisaka. P-Train has a little bit more at 14. Not as healthy as you've seen some of these other runners go through, so you gotta hope that he has some safeties. I think we've seen at least one blue potion as he goes through here, but he's not opening any chests he doesn't have to right now.
No, definitely not. Tempered Sword, Silver Arrows. I think you probably feel more comfortable with that setup having less health. Now, if you were only on Master Sword, maybe that'd be a little bit scarier, but fortunately, Yukisaka going to have to make this trip over to the left side to get the big key. But we'll be grabbing that, heading straight back for Landmo. But definitely really crazy. I mean, we're probably going to be getting into Ganon's Tower right around the hour 20 mark, thereabouts. That's nuts.
Yes, it is. P-Train looks like he's making a similar gamble that Yukisaka did. Is going to check these other two treasure chests before diving into the back. I got to say, I think I actually really like this gamble here. It is a gamble, but it's a logical one.
Yeah, I have to imagine P-Train not making that Turok gamble right away and then finding the flute where it was. I have to imagine he feels behind at this point. So, if you feel behind in the seed like this, well, he is going to go do it. And he's not going to have that fire rod first, so he's going to have to do this the even longer way.
Yeah, I don't think you actually need to pre-push all the blocks. I think if you just do the top room and then go from there, you're set. But P-Train taking the safeties.
Potentially not as familiar with doing this with the lamp, maybe.
That's a possibility. And, putting yourself in those various situations in Randomizer, that's why we practice ahead of time, because when you're in a seed and you have to kind of do it at the last minute, it doesn't feel good to take that risk. It's like, well, I wonder if I could do it or not.
Yeah, it's hard to prepare for any eventuality. You just kind of have to play a bunch. And, eventually those situations will pop up. Unfortunately, getting the map there shows his displeasure.
All right, so Yukisaka on his way. I mean, he's pretty well equipped for a Mothula fight. Mothula, I think, is a lot of random runners' least favorite boss because of weird mechanics and RNG and
Buggy programming.
Oh, that's bad. I love you a little more for that particular pun.
You're welcome, and I'm sorry, everyone. But regardless, Yukisaka flying through here should make quick work of this this giant bug with the tempered sword. Just needs 4 hits.
All right, we'll see if does Mothula decide to cooperate with us today. He gets a dash in. I kind of like that opening dash strat because he was pretty consistent first hit there. Wow, that was a fast Mothula kill.
I really like the use of the fire rod to push Mothula up against that top wall and rebound him back towards him. Very nicely done.
And with that, ladies and gentlemen to chat, I turn your attention to the chat. We will start our Ganon's Tower Big Key guessing game. There are 22 treasure chests in Ganon's Tower that can possibly contain the Ganon's Tower Big Key. Go ahead and get your guesses in which chat in sequence, or which treasure chest in sequence it will open up. If you are a subscriber to any of the Speed Gaming Network of channels, or have donated at least 250 bits across the channels, kind of how you end up doing it, you will be entered for our leaderboard. So, Mr. J. Meisher, sir, what's going to be your guess this time?
I'm going to go ahead and say Ice Armos. The Ice Armos room is going to contain our big key. I just think the seed has been too nice to our runners so far.
And I do have to apologize to chat. It does look like our bot is not functional right at the moment. Oh, I'm so sorry, guys, but this is for pride. Just do it for pride.
Yes, we will do our best to acknowledge you if you get it correct. You'll get an internet gold star.
That's worth it. That's worth. So I'm going to end up guessing at this point in time, actually, because I try to guess the same number until I win, and I won last night. So let's pick. You know what? Let's do the fire snake for number 9 in the traditional routing.
Okay, be interesting to see where Yuki heads and how he's going to route this without that mirror. Fortunately enough for Yukisaka, probably has enough of the lead at this point. Not going to really make a huge difference, but
of course, chat is completely hoping for maximum troll, tile room required. I don't bank on that, guys. I'm just saying. I love you, but don't bank on that.
You can always count on chat to hope for the worst. But Yukisaka checks those first 2 chests on the right, sees a piece of heart on the torch, and we'll see if Yukisaka decides to go full left side. Some runners prefer the Dark Magician strategy of checking the Stalfos room and then mirroring out, but no mirror, so...
And the best cane ever, King of Burna. Oh, so what's that one? Let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's 6?
Yes, that is number 6. Meanwhile, Yukisaka gonna have to go out the long way.
Kind of an untraditional way to do it.
Well, you could see Yukisaka menuing immediately after finding that big key, and then realizing, oh, I don't have the mirror. Can't do that.
Yeah, so as a heads up to chat, the item on the torch is counted when it's checked. You don't necessarily have to collect it. We still count it. So that's the torch counts. So that's 6.
Yes, seeing what the item is counts as a check. Absolutely. Meanwhile, interesting to note on P-Train's side, he's still checking items. So either he doesn't quite realize that he's in go mode if he fake flippers, or he really wants those flippers.
And the minor sequence breaks are absolutely all great to know. Fake flippers is, I think, a relatively simple one. You just have to be to explain fake flippers. For those of you in chat, the game doesn't actually check to see if you have the flippers until the second frame that you're in the water. So you jump down into the water, and in the one frame that you jump in the water, if you do a screen transition, the game never checks to see if you have flippers. Now, that can be dangerous sometimes if you do a lot of flippering in that general area, because if you take a hit, you automatically die. There's no coming back from that.
Right, and that's of course in place because in the original game, you would soft lock. You just kind of be stuck in place. To prevent that, you automatically take a death. And flippers, while not a difficult trick to pull off, can be a little bit finicky. It's really easy to get stuck going back and forth in that screen transition trying to line it up if you're not practiced on it.
Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely something to practice, and once you get it down, it's not all that terrible to do. We see dueling Landmo fights, only one's Landmo 1, one's Landmo 2. And chat pointing out one of the interesting things about Fake Flipper, if you bomb yourself up, you cannot bomb yourself into a screen transition. So what ends up happening is if you bomb yourself to the very edge of the screen and then walk straight up and then jump down to the water and transition right then, it's actually the most consistent way to do the bomb jump.
Yep, Yukisaka not quite getting those whiz robes on their first cycle there. Does get them the second time around, though.
So if you're Yukisaka and you're seeing yourself in the torch room at 122, how good are you feeling about yourself right now?
Oh, I'd be feeling pretty great. What's the top time in the tournament so far? Was it like a 119?
Yeah, it's something ridiculous. I mean, it required an absolute monster of a go mode seed from almost the beginning, and it was by a great runner with great NMG strats. So yeah, I mean, if you're even in the remote neighborhood of that particular time, you should be feeling excellent about yourself.
Absolutely. I'd be feeling fantastic being even that close to that time.
Oh man, Yukisaka did not pick up that last potion. While he has the silver arrows, certainly not having magic can certainly hurt your Ganon fight, can make the early phase effectively prevent you from using your magic cape.
Yeah, obviously one thing Yukisaka can do is, once he gets to the pyramid, is head down to the bottom, bonk the tree, and get a fairy. But obviously it doesn't solve the magic situation.
Yeah, and chat pointing out, I think he used his blue goo in Misery Mire. So this, I mean, I hope he's confident in his strats. If he's confident and he knows that he can do it, he might be thinking that his opponent is got to be doing this equally fast, which is why he has to save every millisecond he possibly could and skip that magic. But man, that's a risk you don't want to take.
Yeah, gets the one hit there on the first cycle. Nothing there on the second as he gets the blue balls from Aghanim.
Aghanim's not playing nice. Aghanim himself is actually ahead of his clones. You don't normally see this.
The
They are
desync
not
is
playing
real.
nice. Yeah. Yeah, that last clone is so far out of sync, it's not even letting him do it. Man, he is at 1 heart to complete Aga 2. P-Train is on his Mothula fight. My God, you gotta be nervous. Go get safeties, Yuki. Please go get safeties.
Yeah, here's the thing. This is a race, a tournament race, and one that would, if you win, would keep you alive for the brackets. You're not playing for a PB. You're playing for a win. So absolutely, you go get safeties. Go grab that ferry. I don't know that I would save and quit and flute.
Yeah, I think you go get the ferry and then you're good from there. Yeah, I mean,
if I had the mirror, maybe.
You just got to be really careful. You got to be very confident in your hookshot strats in order to give yourself. You see P-Train here now finally trying the fake flipper.
Yeah, I think if you're Yukisaka, just play it safe. Don't do anything too crazy.
Oh man, Yukisaka, I mean, definitely gambling with that position, but man, he pulls it off. My goodness. And he is in phase 3. He's in good shape right now.
Yeah, that was very nice positioning on Ganon's part there, allowing him to stay inside the Firebat circle and get spins off.
And the start of phase 2 was actually an amazing start. And he gets the torch glitch with the fire rod.
That was a little bit risky.
It was absolutely risky, but Yukisaka has played risky all game, and it's really paid off for him. He is 1 arrow shot away from win.
Wow, what a performance.
And GG Yukisaka. Oh my goodness, that was a clutch Ganon fight. No magic going through there. Does complete with an official Speed Racing TV time of 1:27:39. GG Yukisaka, get those emotes in chat.
Absolutely, GG to Yukisaka. That was something to watch.
Meanwhile, P-Train's still going through his final dungeon and forgot to go pick up the key over here, so he's got to actually run back here, unfortunately, through this horrible hellway. And keep in mind, this was a mirrorless, flipperless seed. So being able to do all of this without the mirror, it really is an accomplishment at that point. The mirror is so helpful in terms of navigating and routing things together. We still have no idea where that mirror was.
Yeah, absolutely. Also, Flute being locked in pinned at T-Rock, didn't have that for the longest time either.
Meanwhile, P-Train is getting ready to get his 7th crystal. Still, P-Train probably felt pretty good, other than that Turtle Rock gamble. being in go mode, sub 120, feeling all right about yourself. And joining us now is Yukisaka. How you feeling?
One word, just wow.
I think wow is.
I'm feeling great. Yeah.
Every gamble you made seemed to pay off. You made, the inexplicable play up to Death Mountain first and found the Moon Pearl up there. You made a dive into Turtle Rock and found your flute there. I mean, are your hands still shaking? Now is Yukisaka. How you feeling?
Well, yeah, of course. When I found the flute, I was just like, put my fist in there and yes!
I think wow is a pretty good
From that point, I knew, okay, I'm ahead by at least 5 or 10 minutes.
Because gamble you made,
it was just unreasonable to go there, but I thought, okay,
the inexplicable
let's
play
do it.
up to Death
And
Mountain
luckily
first and found
it
the
paid
Moon
out
Pearl
well.
up there.
Yeah.
You made a dive into Turtle Rock and found that you were going to be making some pretty crazy gambles, knowing that you were 2-2. Knowing that you were already facing elimination from the bracket stages, you had to make some crazy gambles in order to pull off the win.
Well, I was expecting to do some gambles, but I don't know. In this moment, I just felt this is the right thing to do. The routing was so good that I could unlock the dungeon, and then
crazy gambles, knowing that you were.
I don't know. I felt it was wrong to leave the dungeon out.
Already
I just
facing elimination.
The routing was good.
Stages. You had to make some crazy gambles in order to pull off the win. So, I mean, walk us through as you're going through here. Is this, first of all, I don't know if this is a PB for you as you're going through here. Sub 130 is just an amazing time. What's your thoughts as you were going through this?
Well, yeah, it is a PB by about, I don't know, 8 minutes or so. My thoughts, oof. I'm a bit at loss of words.
So we were talking. I think the best time so far this tournament is kind of staggering. 1 hour 19 minutes. You were within 10 minutes of that, which is a pretty incredible accomplishment.
Actually, if I would skip Eastern Palace, I would get even better time.
Yeah, that was kind of the one thing early on that we, P-Train actually went over there first and fully cleared out Eastern, right before getting the Moon Pearl even. It seemed at the time like that was maybe going to come back to burn you a little bit, not having those mitts right away. But, so much of the world was still locked off to you, so eventually you had to go back over there. But other than that, I think your routing was exceptional, and yeah, those gambles really paid off.
Yeah, with the routing, I always had a good feeling. Somehow everything worked out perfectly. It was just a nice race. A really nice race.
Yeah, we noticed you actually, after you got the Ganon's Tower big key, we noticed you opening up your menu there. Did you just kind of forget about that the mirror hadn't been found yet, or was that in your mind at all when you were going to Ganon's Tower?
I don't quite remember, actually. But yeah, I knew I didn't have the mirror. Maybe it was just a muscle memory. But okay, I had the big key and this menu, and then okay, I don't have the mirror.
Well,
actually, yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, and ultimately, it ended up benefiting you that the key was found so early on, so you didn't have to mirror out from pretty much. From where you were, it was just kind of a quick launch right back into the everything. So it really ended up being beneficial that you I guess you didn't have the mirror because you could just route around, and the big heap wasn't located deeper in. Like, can you imagine it being passed in random room or something?
Yeah, that's for sure. And when you mentioned the mirror, it was quite nice that we didn't find it. It was a bit of a downside that we couldn't mirror out of dungeons, but there were so many locations that were locked by the mirror. So the routing was a bit easier because of that.
Yeah, we were kind of talking about that. You know, what would be the least valuable thing to find? What would be the worst thing to find? And mirror was up there with the flippers. So,
Okay.
but now you're 3-2. So still alive. How are you feeling about that going forward in the tournament?
Yeah, I'm definitely planning on doing my best and trying to get that 5-2. Yeah, I think with a bit of luck I can manage, and with a bit more practice. Some of the bosses are still a bit wacky for me, but well, yeah, I think I can try it.
Well, could have fooled us. I mean, you played exceptionally well going through here, made all the right gambles. Nothing really stood out. Just nothing but GG, man. That was an amazing thing to watch.
Actually, I was really surprised about myself too. At the end, I was like, okay, wow, this time, and everything felt right. The bosses were quite nice too. I don't remember messing up a boss.
I mean, nothing comes to me off the top of my head. Maybe not. Some of them were, perfectly 100% clean, but didn't really have any major issues with them.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh man, and we see your collection rate 124. My God, 124 collection rate.
I was kind of marveling at that below 2 hour and 30-minute menu time.
Well, I'm surprised.
Well, regardless, GG once again. Fantastic work. You're more than welcome to hang around with us if you'd like as we watch P-Train head up the gauntlet in Ganon's Tower.
I would like to watch silently, if that's okay.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah, feel free to join us.
Yeah.
We do see P-Train entering his gauntlet right now. He did stop in the safety room. I think part of that... Oh, that's also something I was going to talk to you about, sir. How nervous were you going into Ganon? You didn't pick up the final full magic pot. Like, did you forget about that? Or do you like, I gotta save every second, he's right on my tail?
Actually, I forgot about that. I kind of messed up the switch. I didn't meant to hit it with the pot. And then I got transformed, I think. I don't know. Or I got hot. And then I just forgot about the magic jar.
I mean, I was real worried about your Ganon fight there, and then you pulled out the fire rod and started, firing shots, trying to get the torch glitch. I'm like, oh no, he's gonna be out of magic. No, not like this.
Actually, I think I had a blue potion left. I think we found 2, if I remember correctly. So I had that in my mind.
So
But yeah,
you thought you did, so that was the justification.
The power of positive thinking.
It was amazing to watch, regardless. I mean, it was gutsy. I didn't know if it was on purpose or not, but it was absolutely gutsy, and I was amazed by it. So.
So P-Train gets through his Land Mode 2 fight. Gets the quick kill on the first Wizard Broom. Not quite there on the second one, but we'll get into cycles there.
keeping things as safe as he can through this torch room, making sure that the fire bar is doing what's expected of him. Picked up enough magic and saved enough magic using the torch. Does not have to pick up that other magic pot. It's right there.
Yep, he'll have more than enough magic to do this room, and then we'll be able to refill on that that green potion or green magic drop you mentioned earlier. We'll go for 3 slashes with the Tempered Sword on Moldorm 2. Gets the fight done easily enough.
Absolutely. Picks up the last treasure chest. Of course, it's just a big 20. And he is off to his Agaphyte. Aghanim was a little bit rude. The desync for the first Aghanim, like, it's pretty common to see desync from some of one of the 2 clones, but Aghanim himself desynced, and it was tough to get more than one shot in at a time, so it was a little bit rude.
Yeah, I'm not sure I've ever seen the actual Aghanim get ahead of his clones, but I think that was just a double, maybe a triple on that first one. Either way, nicely done.
And another double by P-Train. His Agaphyte is much cleaner. I mean, no offense, Yukisaka, just stating facts.
It's all right. I knew I kind of messed up the Aghanim 2 fight. And like you said, they were acing, and it's like, I was like, oh god, I can't hit the balls.
Yeah, there was definitely some weird syncing going on there. But P-Train gets it done easily enough. We'll be heading out to face Ganon. I don't think he ever used a blue potion, so he may have 2. He's got a red potion there.
He's got a red potion. I think regardless, I think he's in pretty good shape, all things considered. He's opting to take probably a little bit more damage, but at this point, he's in relatively good shape.
Yep, does get through to that second phase.
Has to do another second phase, though, for these fire bats. Didn't quite get the quick one cycle there.
Yes, also opting to save his magic, not use the cape to get through that second phase as quickly. But does get through it with 5 hearts remaining, and is on to phase 3.
Did not quite get the torch glitch, but I think that's going to be okay. He has plenty of magic.
Yeah, especially after getting that double on the first round there.
And there's the death. GG, P-Train.
GG indeed. He will finish once he gets through the door here. He will finish with an official SRTB time of 1 hour, 44 minutes, and 51 seconds.
And man, Mr. P-Train is quick to join us here. How you feeling, man?
I'm feeling good. I wish I had realized that I was in go mode sooner than I was.
Yeah, we were wondering about that because we noticed you in Desert Palace opening chests after getting the big key. So just I guess fake flippers just kind of left your mind there.
Yeah, it wasn't until I was heading to Skull Woods, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm in go mode. Like, I can fake flipper and I don't need flippers. And all the way up into Ice Palace, I was actually second guessing, like, trying to make sure that I actually was in go mode.
Yeah, that when you get go mode that early, it's completely understandable that you end up like second guessing yourself. It's like I can't be done now, right?
Well, I'd had it on my mind for the longest that I needed flippers. There was a lot of psychological stuff going on, particularly after I cleared Hera. Um, I was as soon as I saw Pendant Turtle Rock, I was like, I'm gonna need to go to Turtle Rock. As soon as Hype Cave gave me Ice Ride, I was like, I'm gonna need to go to Turtle Rock. The moment I got Ether, I was like, I bet this is for Turtle Rock. But I forgot when I left Hera, my Dark World entrance was going to be Turtle Rock. So when I got out of Spiral Cave, I immediately opened up the Dark World from Southeast Death Mountain. And I forgot to open up Turtle Rock. So I checked the medallion requirement and I was like, well, yep, I'm diving Turtle Rock, but I'll come back. I have to save and quit now because I don't have a mirror. And after that, the moment I saved and quit, I went and I think I did like Purple Chest and Hammer Peg Cave and completely forgot about Turtle Rock. And then by that point, my track, because I forgot to mark the Turtle Rock pendant on my track, or the Turtle Rock medallion on my tracker, my tracker was telling me that I had visited everything that I was capable of visiting, with the exception of Zora. So I was freaking out, thinking that I had missed an item, and then after that, it was slightly downhill in terms of execution from there, unfortunately.
Yeah, if there's like that Turtle Rock gamble really was the major difference. And let me kind of walk you through how this seed ended up starting out. You ended up going to make the early Eastern play. Meanwhile, Yukisaka made kind of an unusual gamble and went up to Death Mountain early before he went over to Eastern. So you got your Titansmiths. He got his Moon Pearl relatively early. So he ended up skipping the Eastern area for a little bit and went to the Dark World right away. So we were just kind of waiting for Yukisaka to go over and get Sahasrara and check that out in the meantime. Meanwhile, you made your check and you got the Titansmiths. So we were thinking that you were actually ahead for quite a bit of time, because once Death Mountain happened, Yuki and you found the hook shot in Palace of Darkness. Yuki went up to Death Mountain, Light World, couldn't do the Light and Dark World at the same time, had to end up coming back. The difference was, once he did go up there for Death Mountain, he did enter down there from the bottom, or did not enter from the bottom, he entered from the top to open up Turtle Rock and made that gamble, and of course the flute was there. And at that point, that was kind of the bottleneck at that point in time. So other than that, we honestly thought you were ahead for a lot of the race, but as soon as that happened, there was just no catching up after that, unfortunately.
Yeah, I figured. And did Yukisaka find the flippers?
No, neither of you found the flippers.
Wow. Okay. That was the one like saving grace. I was like, man, I really hope I'm the only person to think of this. Like, my hope was that maybe he had taken an alternate route and maybe found flippers, which led him elsewhere before clearing out some of the things I did. And one of the other things I was hoping, I did look out and find a tempered sword in Spike Cave, and I was hoping that might be something that gave me an advantage if there was not another sword along the way.
Yeah, I think for Yukisaka did find that before you did. We were actually concerned that you might not get it if you did go into Turtle Rock early. Yeah, I think I felt like this was a close race for a while there, but yeah, that Turtle Rock, not being able to get in there early definitely hampered you, unfortunately. So sitting at 2 and 3 now, you're not necessarily eliminated from brackets, but obviously it's going to be pretty difficult. Is that kind of maybe a little bit of a weight off your mind? Just, hey, I got these last couple weeks. Just have some fun with it.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, my goal in this tournament pretty much was 2 wins at some point in time. Honestly, I expected to go like 0-5 and then like just barely inch out a couple of wins at the end of the tournament. Just being perfectly honest. So I'm shocked that I made it to 2-2 to begin with, because I know that there are some very awesome players sitting at 1-3 right now. So I figured it was a matter of time. I'm still relatively new to Randomizer, honestly. So I figured it was a matter of time before I kind of got, I don't want to say out of my league, but there were some obvious execution errors on my play. I thought my escape was fantastic. I was very pleased with my bomb escape, but I think at like the top of Thieves Town, I got bailed out by a heart piece. If I didn't pick up a heart piece, the grasshopper would have killed me. So just little things like that. I had to take a blue potion on blind. So I still got a ways to go before I feel like I'm like really eligible for bracket. So I'm stoked to be at this level. Really happy to have made it here. And I'm very, it's unfortunate. I wish I'd made it a closer race, but ultimately, I'm still relatively pleased with my performance.
Yeah, I think a 1 hour, 45-minute Steve, nothing to sneeze at. That is still a very nice time.
All right. And any final thoughts from either P-Train or Yukisaka before we try to get things wrapped up here?
Well, I was really quiet. So at least GG, P-Train. Nice race. And thanks everyone for watching. And well, I give the words to you guys.
Yeah, GG Yukisaka. I really enjoyed it. Glad to have raced you. Special thanks to the commentators for commentating this race and just restreaming in general. Thank you all. I really appreciate it. Had a great time.
All right. Well, GG to both P-Train and Yukisaka, gladiators fighting for our entertainment here. If you were entertained by what you saw, and were you not entertained? Go ahead and give them a follow here on Twitch. P-Train and Yukisaka here. Also, quick shout out to our wonderful tracker, Osgeek, doing all the amazing work for us, making sure that we know what's going on. When you don't notice the tracker, it's when he's doing his job best. So GG Osgeek, thank you so much. And of course, my co-commentator, Jay Misher. It's been a pleasure, man.
Absolutely. Always fun to do these races with you.
Absolutely, and I hope you aren't done with Randomizer tonight. There's lots of rando still going on. Just started about half an hour ago over on Speed Gaming, the original. We have a pretty hype match, Nif Boy versus Patty, going on over on Speed Gaming. Here in a half hour on Speed Gaming 3, this channel right here, we'll have Ninjembro versus Arias 13. That's going to be a pretty hype match. Other things that we have going on tonight, it looks like over on Speed Gaming 4 at 8:30 Eastern Time, we'll have Lyra GG versus Pika Pals. That's going to be a pretty exciting race. And 9 o'clock Eastern, we're going to have Slim Kirby versus Walking Eye at Speed Gaming 2. Still plenty of randomizer action going on this week. If you haven't got your fill, like I haven't gotten my fill, absolutely tune in for some more randomizer action going on.
We have more randomizer than we know what to do with, folks.
It's absolutely true. We have no idea what to do. So much is going on. But anyway, that's going to end it for myself and Jay Misher and all of us here at the Speaking Gaming community. GG, again, once again to our runners, P-Train and Yukisaka. We will go ahead and sign off, and we will see you guys at the next match.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great night.